My fellow citizens of the United States, it is now 72 years since the first inauguration of a president under our national Constitution. During that period, 15 different and greatly distinguished citizens have in succession administered the executive branch of the government. They have conducted it through many perils and generally with great success. I now enter into this same task for the brief constitutional term of 4 years under great and peculiar difficulty. The disruption of the federal union heretofore only menaced is now being formidably attempted. One section of our country believes that slavery is right and ought to be extended, while the other believes that it is wrong and ought not to be extended. This is the only substantial dispute. Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in this world? My countrymen, one and all, think calmly and well upon this whole subject. Nothing valuable can be lost by taking time. Intelligence, patriotism, Christianity, and a firm reliance on Him who has never yet forsaken this favored land are still competent to adjust in the best way all of our present difficulty. In your hands, my dissatisfied fellow countrymen, and not in mine, is the momentous issue of civil war. The government will not assail you. You can have no conflict without being yourselves the aggressors. You have no oath registered in heaven to destroy the government, while I have the most solemn one to preserve, protect, and defend it. I am loath to close. You are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot's grave to every living heart and hearthstone across this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be by the better angels of our nation. While the inaugural address was being delivered, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both sides deprecated war, but one side would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. When the war came, 1/8 of the whole population were then colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. To continue, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the reason for which the insurgents were prepared to rend the Union even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Throughout this national tragedy, I have continued to tell my stories, because I knew that if I did not laugh, I would surely cry. One of my favorites, two ladies who were Quakers, were traveling on railroad and were overheard discussing the probable termination of the war. "I think that Jefferson will succeed," said the first. "Well, why does thee think so?" asked the second. "Well, because Jefferson is a praying man. So is Abraham a praying man." "Yes, but the Lord will think that Abraham is joking." One congressman once said to me, "Mr. Lincoln, I believe that you would have your joke if you were within a mile of hell." I said, "Yes, sir, I believe it is just about that far from here to Congress." Even though I have always opposed slavery, my object as president has been to preserve the Union. Without the Union, anything else that I might accomplish as president would be useless. To the Honorable Horace Greeley, New York Tribune, my dear sir. As to the policy I seem to be pursuing, as you say, I have not meant to leave anyone in doubt. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all of the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. Now, I have here stated my purpose according to my view of official duty. I intend no modification of my oft-expressed personal wish that all men, everywhere, could be free. Yours truly, A. Lincoln. September the 17th of 1862 was the single bloodiest day in the history of the Union. On that one day at Antietam Creek near Sharpsburg in Maryland, 22,000 brave young American men were killed or wounded on the field of battle by other brave young American men. Oh, my offense is rank, it smells to heaven, it hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. Pray, can I not? Though inclination be as sharp as will, my stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. What if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in heaven to wash it white as snow? One of my favorite quotes from William Shakespeare. The will of God prevails. In great human contests, both sides claim to be acting in accordance with the will of God. Both sides may be, and one side must be wrong. God cannot be for and against the same thing at the same time. In this present civil war, I believe that God's purpose may be different from that of either party. I am almost prepared to say that this is probably true, that God wills this contest, and that He wills that it not end yet. By His mere great power in the minds of the now contestants, He could have either saved or destroyed the Union without a human contest, and yet the contest began. And having begun, He could have given victory to either side any day. And yet the contest continued. Many of my actions have been unpopular, and I have been soundly and almost unanimously criticized by the press, either for conceding too much to the rebels or for not conceding enough. One newspaper referred to me as that hideous baboon at the other end of the avenue. Barnum should buy him and exhibit him as a zoological curiosity. I've also been called in print a clown, an idiot, a monster, a tyrant, an atheist, and an ugly fool, among other things. Mr. Lincoln stands 6 feet 12 in his socks, which he changes once every 12 days. His anatomy is composed mostly of bones, and when walking he resembles the offspring of a happy marriage between a derrick and a windmill. His hands and feet are plenty large enough, and he has the air of having too many of them. Union troops had yet to win a major and decisive battle. Second term as president appeared impossible. But I knew that a change in leaders at this critical time would mean an end to the Union. So I determined to spell out for the American people my course of action and my reasoning. About a year and a half ago, I was invited to speak at the site of a particularly bloody battle at a small town in Pennsylvania called Gettysburg. I was asked to make a few appropriate remarks to help dedicate a new military cemetery there. 87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. Brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth.